So, my disability and my neurological disorder that causes me so much pain needs to be diagnosed, and I need paperwork describing the symptoms and why they're happening. Now, we know why they happen, we know when it started, we know what caused it, we know what it is, we just don't know which neurological disorder it is. And we have doctors that can work with me, and I've spent 25 years talking to different doctors, getting details on this, even though most of them are psychiatrists and cannot tell me anything about the nervous system. I've got pretty far with talking to neurologists. So we have a good idea, but it's going to take many, many years. Doctors are just going to guess at this point, and even if I get a diagnosis, unless it's based on my information, it's going to be really off. Now, a question I get a lot of the time is, why can't you use a shelter? Now, here's the very good answer. This morning, one of the reasons why a shelter is problematic, and they're the ones who don't let me stay. It's not anything in my choice. These are not choices I get to make. We got choices that the government makes, like Social Security. We got choices that my mother and father make, like lying to doctors and keeping secrets. We got choices that doctors make. We got choices that other people make, or that are out of my hands. But one of the situations that become apparent at the shelter, I will describe, just happened to me this morning. About 10 minutes ago, I was outside sitting down on a wooden plank, or it's on three painted cemented cinder blocks with a wooden plank on top that makes a guardrail on the doorway or something. Anyways, people sit there and there's ashtray there or whatever. I'm sitting there getting fresh air as my roommate smokes. Now, the problem that I'm having is that it is 70 degrees outside and it's chilly for me. Now, I start getting like this shiver type feeling in my spine, arms, legs, and body. And it then continues with a electrocution type feeling like a taser. Then my whole body looks like I'm getting tased. It looks like that, it feels like that, and witnesses think that I am getting tased sometimes. They think there's like an electrical wire I'm leaning up against or something. Is there electrical? No. It's cold. I need a jacket. People go, why do you need a jacket in 75, 80 degrees? Well, here's where the answer comes in. I am disabled and have a medical condition. Or what is that medical condition that makes you shake, fall on the ground, have seizures just when a cold breeze comes by? I mean, it's cold, but not that cold. You look like you are in Alaska and it's -10. It's 70 degrees out and you're about to need an ambulance. So that is the reason. Imagine today, it is 70, 69, something like that. But there's a lot of moisture in the air. The sun just came up. It hasn't warmed up yet. And I have to wait in line to go into the shelter for breakfast, or I'm waiting in line for something, where they go in between. You get out of the rooming shelter, and now you got to go and sign the paperwork to go out in the other half of the shelter. But there's a line that you transfer. Then you go in, you sign the paperwork, you get your breakfast, and they throw you out for the day. Let's say there's something like that, and I'm in the line outside. I'm wearing just light clothing because I haven't left yet. I got to go in to get my box out. They have the box at the counter with your meds, and that might be where my good jacket is, or who knows. But I'm wearing a long sleeve shirt, regular clothing. Everybody else is wearing short sleeve shirts. It's June or July. It's just a 70-degree night, 68 degrees, and it's now 71, and there's just a little wind chill in the air. Not anything that anybody goes to the hospital for, right? But then Zach is shaking. He's shaking. He's trying to stand up in line. But then he squats to the ground, and everybody looks at him like a retard. They say, why is Zach squatting to the ground in line? The 80-year-old in front of him is just fine. Then he shakes even more, and then he falls back and he goes unconscious, and his head just starts squirting out blood, and the cement is bashing, and he looks like a fish flopping, and they call an ambulance for him, and he goes to the hospital. He wakes up at the hospital, and they just told him he had a seizure or a fall. At that point, they ask him about the drugs and alcohol, what they cannot find in any of his system. Zach tells him there are no drugs and alcohol. I've been in the shelter for a year. They drug test me every day. I don't do any drugs whatsoever. I'm a CBD guy. They say, okay. And they release me on the spot because they don't know anything else. They know that I had a condition, I had a fall, there's no drugs involved, so release him. That's all they do. So then I get released. I try to go into the shelter, and then they go, what happened in line yesterday? And I tell them, oh, it's part of my neurological disorder. It's been happening all the way back to childhood. In Texas, I was putting on suede jackets when I was going out, and I've been putting on heaters and jackets to try to treat this through my entire life. Then they go, oh, do you got paperwork on this? Because we need all people staying at this shelter. If you're going to have a seizure here or a fall in line like that, if ambulances are going to have to take you out, we need documentation of your disabilities. And then I tell them I don't have that. It's going to happen, and there's nothing I have on it. Then they say, sorry, but you can't stay here without paperwork on your disabilities. If you're going to fall on the ground like a fish, we need paperwork on that. And we need to know why it's happening. If you're going to shake or lose the ability to speak, if you're going to lose the ability to walk in the morning, if you're going to fall down in lines, we're going to need some documentation. If you are going to be put into a wheelchair, we're going to need documentation. Just any permanent disability you've had for your entire life, we need documentation on that permanent disability before you can return to the shelter. And then I say, darn it, so I can't sleep here tonight? And they say, no. And then I go to the doctors, and they tell me they can't help me. I got to spend 10 years working with them, and they need me to pay them a shitload of bum money, just shitloads of money, before they will help me. So then I just go into the woods, and I find a good tree to sleep in. And then I just live like that for the rest of my life. You can see how this is a problem. And I can't drive. I go to the DMV, and they want to ask me what my disabilities are. Again, no documentation. And I could lie to them, but then again, I can't control my foot or arm, and I will have a seizure behind the wheel. So again, can't drive. Okay, can't use a shelter. Can't use a job. Can't drive. How the fuck am I supposed to live?